Mhm.
Well, I think we're live, Dan.
All right.
So, greetings,
Well, good-
everybody. Happy Sunday night, March 15th, 2026. And
Yeah. Good evening,
Dan and
gang.
I,
Welcome to another Sunday.
yeah, Dan and I are kind of scrambling here. So, I just got back from the library. So, we were just talking about, I figured we'd just go live and we'd just talk about this on the channel. So, yeah. So, well, Dan, you should write a book. You can, I mean, an outline's always helpful, but what always happens is I can tell you for me,
Mhm.
I write the story as I write because characters develop. And then if you introduce new characters, or you may decide that you
Mhm.
want to go this way with the character instead of that way, because the characters develop their own, their own lives as you write them,
Yeah, so I would agree with that. I'm just saying from just a basic straw man structure, like the overall subject matter, what the
Yeah.
book is going to talk about. You should roughly know the number of chapters, roughly, not exact. You're
I
not going
have
to be
no
exact.
clue. I
You
write,
know,
I write until there's not, until the story's told.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying how I think. I'm very methodical when I do stuff. I have to be that way. So I have to have a straw man ahead of time.
Well,
And
you
then,
should write a book and tell me, because that'd be interesting. Because I don't think that you can. I don't think anybody can. I mean, you can always put an outline about, but you really don't know how many chapters because yes, you start with the idea, but you don't know
yeah,
how
the
many
subject, the
stories,
idea.
you don't know how many chapters there are, because you don't know how many pages there'll be, because you're writing.
Agreed. But again, from a basic framework or structure, like I said, top down, right? Hierarchical, the subject matter. And then from there, uh, based on the subject matter, you're going to know at a high level and a rough level, what type of characters you're going to need. Now, they're not fleshed out, not even close. But, is it going to be a male protagonist, for example, or a female protagonist, right? Uh, are they going to be living in a city, a town, living alone? You know what I
Well,
mean?
it's
Then the details flush out, right?
yeah, and and
You know,
and and for you,
what's their vocation, that type of thing. Are
I
they,
have,
I'm
I
just
have.
making stuff up. Are they a secret agent or a mechanic?
There are some people who write like that. Quite a few people who write like that, because
Right.
I have. I've obviously looked in on and chatted with some people who are writers, and some
So
of
they
them
would
are
know better.
some of them are very methodical and are very
Mhm.
structured in.
Right.
But I'm not that way. I start out,
And that's okay.
the overall thing I start with
Yep.
is an idea. What's the idea? And then I start writing to flush out the idea.
Okay.
So what it means, that uh, that's probably why it takes me so long to write, because just putting an outline together, yeah, I create basic outlines, but until you start writing, Dan, dialogue, there's no substance behind the idea.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Because I mean, if somebody, you haven't read my book, which is really quite insulting, that one of my best friends hasn't even read my book, hasn't even taken a few hours to read my book. It's really disgusting. But what can I say? It's not my choice. Free will, free choice. But so I can't really comment on it to you because you've never read the book. But I can tell you that it's and that was a challenge with the first book, because, and it's kind of like running the marathons. First marathon I did, I had no idea what to expect. Second marathon, you have a little bit idea to expect. So now I have some concept, yeah, of how difficult it is. So, but but that's it. So I'm trying. I'm going to overdrive because what I if everything checks out okay with this doctor next week, and he gives me permission to travel, then I think I think I'm going to come back to the U.S. in the summer, and I was thinking either renting or buying a car. And I don't know if you've ever had this idea about. I just want to drive back roads, no highways, back roads, and just visit various small towns in America, going from, maybe start up in Maine, New Hampshire, and then start going west.
Mm.
And I think it'd be pretty cool to explore that. Do you ever have a desire to do that?
Not really, to be honest.
Like
No.
Stobe the hobo there, only in a car instead of a train?
Yeah, not really.
Really? That doesn't.
No. Nah, because
You don't like to explore?
I feel like I've seen enough to know that, not without sounding what's the word? Uh Pessimistic or whatever. I mean, I've seen enough in my life to know that most towns, particularly small towns, between major cities and in the middle of nowhere, and I mean no disrespect, are as such. And the inhabitants on average, plus or minus, are as such. I spent the first 10 years of my life in a little town like that. And I wouldn't go back to that environment in a million years. It would be taking 1,000 steps backwards. So that's just how I see it.
Well, I'm talking more.
Another
I'm talking more
another
rural.
example would be, this is an extreme example, right? I've never been in combat, right?
Yeah, thank
But
God.
I don't need to be in combat, at least to a good extent, to understand how horrific and how hellish it is and how terrible it is, and the stuff that you see and how it affects you. You know what I mean? I don't need to experience that, right? That's me.
Really,
That's just me.
I think that's one of the things
That's
in
just me.
life. I think that's one thing in life that you will never ever appreciate unless you're involved in it. Like many things in life.
Yeah, I don't know
I
if
mean,
appreciate's the right word.
you've been involved in fist fights before, and real. You've been involved in real fights before, and
Yeah,
those aren't a day at the beach. So
no.
yeah, you can
Mag-
extrapolate that, but
Magnify it 1,000 times or 10,000 times with bullets. Yeah,
oh yeah, yeah. I mean,
it's terrible. It's
yeah.
got to be horrific.
Imagine, remember how you felt after, some of those events, the adrenaline going and blood,
Yeah, or just
blood,
even, yeah,
bruises.
or even just full contact sparring. I've done a lot of that when I was younger. Full contact, full bore. And the other guy gets the best of you, and you walk away like a limp noodle that's been beaten. You're like, that
Yeah,
sucked. That
but
wasn't fun.
but the difference is you're pretty sure going into that full contact sparring that
100%.
it's unlikely you're going home in a body bag.
100%. But you go into it knowing that you could get hurt, you could get knocked out, um, or whatever, bloody lip, bloody nose, broken nose, whatever. It's
Well,
not
if you
fun.
were so finish your thoughts on the small town. Massachusetts, there aren't really a lot of small towns in Massachusetts until you get out maybe towards Vermont, but
Central and Western, I think, is small towns, right?
not really.
Not
I
really.
mean,
Not really.
it's too close. I mean, it feels like, but
I know what you mean
it feels
because
like
of the size of the
Boston.
state. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I'm
Yeah.
talking about going out to like West Virginia or Oklahoma or Kansas, Iowa, even parts of Maine. I mean, it's out there.
100%. Yeah. And to your point, the bigger the expanse, the bigger the section of land geography, the more spread out, 5,000, 2,000, 10,000 person towns can be, right? Where you were truly in the middle of nowhere. And it's probably like a scene. Again, not
Well,
trying to be
this,
disrespectful, but till this day, it's probably like a scene out of Deliverance.
yeah. Well, no. I mean, think about it this way. I said this to my friends in China. The last several times I was in China, I was pushing them to get the hell out of the big cities and go back to their hometowns, because everybody in China comes from a hometown out in the rural areas and they move to the city for the
Right.
jobs. But
Like we
today,
did 100 years ago.
but now China has this great high-speed train network that is the
Hmm.
largest in the world and can get you inexpensively and quickly from a big city to rural nowhere or somewhere. And and Wi-Fi is ubiquitous.
Yeah,
So there's no in
absolutely.
today's world with Wi-Fi and with UPS type delivery systems, you don't have to be in Shanghai or in Boston or New York or Tampa. You can be in rural, and in the world that we're going to today. I don't know. There's more and more advantages to be away from a city of people.
Amen. I couldn't agree with you more. Now, there's people that would vehemently disagree with both of us, but that's fine. Maybe a 25-year-old or something. But I think a lot of people would agree with us, particularly, let's say, I don't know, I'm just whatever, 40 years older or older, 40 years of age or older, and they've got a family or trying to raise a family. I mean, who wants to be? I'll just speak for the US and any of our major cities trying to raise a family. You want to raise a family in San Francisco or Chicago? Good luck. Atlanta, cost of living, the crime, the tomfoolery in general, forget it.
The wonderful school systems.
Yeah, excellent school systems, exactly.
Yeah.
Where your kids are learning anything or they're learning stuff on a daily basis that you don't want them to learn, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of the public school systems, not to diverge too much, have turned into for the most part. It's such a joke.
Yeah, so I just want to go back. So if you were going to have you even thought about writing a book?
I
Is
have.
it, really? Because I mean, I know a lot of people say they want to write a book, but then when you actually sit down, I mean,
Mm.
not many people can actually come up with an idea
Well,
that
I have
will
two.
just.
Yeah, I have two or three, or I have two or three ideas to be honest, and I've thought about them for a while. And I don't think it would be that difficult for me to be honest with you, because again, I'm very methodical. Um, I, I,
Well, give me
I
your
would
best
start.
idea. What would it be?
I already have the title.
Okay, that's a start.
One is called "Soldier of God."
Okay, sounds
Hmm.
like a good title.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
And
That's been on
give
my
me
mind for a while.
the elevator pitch.
Well, so the subject matter in a nutshell would be you have a rough and gruff um, special operations soldier that grew up in middle America or a middle class, background, kind of like myself. Um,
You're from Middle
he,
America?
did the basics, volunteered for special operations. He was a bit gruff, a bit crude, although he was somewhat educated, but crude. Um, and it just, in a nutshell, shows how he goes from that kind of young, crude guy and evolves over time with wisdom and stuff to maturing and really being dragged slowly or pulled slowly, at his spirit level, towards the Lord, and he changes in ways that everybody around him that knows him, friends, family, etc., guys in his unit are like, wait a minute, man, you used to be like this, now you're acting like this. You don't cuss anymore, you don't drink like you used to, you stop chasing women like you used to. What is going on with you, man?
And what was the epiphany for him?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if I got that far. um
Well, that's the whole book.
I think the epiphany was, he always knew at a visceral level and deep down that, he was always felt like he was slowly being tugged on by the Holy Spirit, but he ignored it, and he stayed more secular. He stayed more worldly, and did things that he thought, uh, he should do according to the world versus otherwise. And
Right.
eventually, that I
Everybody else was having sex, so he had sex. Everybody else was doing drugs, he did drugs.
yeah, he was just normalized a lot of it. Yeah, but the Spirit pulling at him little by little, until he got to a dichotomy or a point where that balance all of a sudden kind of went boink,
Hmm.
and then
Yeah,
it just
always had
kept
that
going.
guilt. Always had the guilt in the back of his mind,
Guilt's part of it.
or the devil and the angels on the shoulders.
Um, yeah, you that's one way to put it. Another way to put it is, with his background, how he was raised, uh, kind of like how we were raised, the region where we're from. You're taught to, work hard, go to school, get a job, you know, um, what are you going to do this for? What are you going to be? You want to be a musician, or you want to be a pastor? What do you want to do that for? That's not practical. You can't make a lot of money doing that. Why would you do that? I'm being facetious, right?
Well, I think most parents are going to take that approach because they there's a bunch of reasons why parents would do that. In certain cultures, they want the child to take care of them when they get older. In our culture, it's not so much that. In our culture, it's kind of like the child is a chip off the old block. They don't want to be embarrassed by a child who fails.
I guess it depends what your definition of failure is, though, too. I
Well,
mean, in our society,
their definition, see, that's the mistake. A lot of parents think that they have the right to live their child's lives for them. And because they think that the child doesn't know any better.
well, in some ways that's true because of experience, ultimate experience and wisdom, which they don't have. But I mean, a child needs guidance, absolutely, in my view. But at the same time, um, I don't know how else to put it. There is some sort of a balance where, to your point, you can't live the child's life either.
No, it's a very difficult thing because in our society now we have these parents where I don't know if it's the water they're drinking, the chemicals in the food, or just the media and the exposure, but you have
Oh,
children who seem very confused today compared to when we were young. And you have parents now who are torn because they know it's not normal, but they don't want to be perceived as a bad parent. So then they let the child explore these off the wall avenues. And I don't know what the right answer is. I mean, if your boy wants to wear a dress, or,
well,
like
I think
let's say your 3-year-old boy wanted a doll. Some fathers would be like, you ain't getting no stinking doll. Well, is it abnormal for a little baby boy to want a doll if his sister has a doll?
well, it depends what the doll is. I had dolls as a small child.
Yeah, I'm speaking because I remember this.
It were GI Joe dolls.
No, no, no. When I was a child, I remember I was 2 or 3. I remember that. I mean, it's amazing. I can remember back then. My sister had a doll, and I said that I wanted a doll. I never got a doll, but I remember telling my mother I wanted a doll because my sister had a doll. So I don't know if I was just feeling competitive. I don't know.
Yeah.
But they never got me a doll. I did get something, but it wasn't a doll. It was I got Minnie Mouse when we went to Disney World.
Yeah.
I loved Minnie Mouse.
No, no, I absolutely had dolls. I had a lot of dolls, but they were action figure
Yeah,
dolls.
but I had those as a younger boy. I'm not talking. I didn't have a GI Joe doll at 3 years old.
I don't think I had it at 3, probably 5 or 6.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
maybe 7.
well.
You're right. I don't know if I had a
Listen,
doll.
I can tell you what I see. I have not spent much time on the internet today because I've been writing, and I was out for a walk. The weather down here is just so spectacular now. But
Yeah.
I did notice that they're coming for Tucker Carlson now.
I
And
watched that video you sent me, the whole 5 minutes of it.
yeah, and
That's scary.
and Tucker Carlson's a reporter. Okay, as far as I'm aware,
Yeah,
and
professional journalist.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not like Dan and Dave. And even if we
Right.
wanted to do it, our Constitution gives us the right of freedom of press. We have freedom to say anything we want. And the people are calling for him to get executed, tried, executed, thrown in jail because he has the nerve to reach out to people in Iran or Russia. And because he's condemning the Zionists and some of the Jews, he's now enemy number one. So
Yeah, it's not freedom. It's not freedom of speech, right?
But there are people in the United States who are calling. This is why we wanted to read the Constitution, because people have no appreciation for that document at all and the rights
Nope.
that we are given.
Nope. Yeah, spot on. I couldn't agree with you more. I carry this around in my work backpack. I carry it around, literally.
I know you do. Well, I did
No, I
not.
don't.
I said, I know you do.
Oh. Yeah.
I said, I don't remember. I know we've talked about the Constitution before. I did not go back and look at my channel here in the videos to see what we actually talked about on the Constitution before.
I don't think we ever read it, right?
Well, I'm afraid. Here, let me go in and I'll look.
Or maybe we read a portion of it, I thought, at one point.
Well, I know we read the Declaration of Independence.
Okay, there you go. There you go.
Hold on. The internet here is so bad. I didn't want to go on to because I'm afraid that it might lead to dropping the call. Hold on. Okay.
We did read.
Yeah, I have a playlist called Freedom Documents. And hold on, they're coming up. Oh, you son of a gun. You son of a gun. Hold on. Yeah, that's the other thing is, I don't know if it's the computers, but you click on it and, you want it to go click, click, click. It takes like 5-10 seconds per click. It's probably just my internet. Bear with me, Freedom Documents.
Yeah, I think you're right. We did read the Declaration at one point.
Yeah, because
I thought we read a couple of amendments too.
Okay.
Or got into.
Yeah, we did. We did. There's Constitution of the United States Part 1 5 years ago. Constitution of the United States Part 2. So, and we also read the 10th Amendment to the Constitution, as well as the Declaration of Independence. So I think what we should do is, and I apologize that I put it on my mental notes this morning, but I did not go in to actually watch those videos again. So I'll do that this week. I'll watch those videos, and then let's just freestyle it. And is there a section of the Constitution? Okay, freedom of the press, right?
Yeah,
Why don't we talk about that a little bit?
we could.
Okay.
Mhm.
And freedom of the here, I have the Constitution called up here. I'm pretty sure we already talked about this.
Which amendment? I should know this is the freedom of the press.
Hold on one second.
I don't know offhand.
I'm calling this up. I'm just trying to figure out where we.
Okay. Now let me check something too.
I don't. Did we get into the amendments last time, or did we just go the main body? Well, you won't remember. That was 5 years ago. But no. I mean, no. As far as amendments, Dan, we should have a lot more amendments at this point, because we should be putting in term limits and sundown laws. We should probably be putting even going back, getting rid of the Federal Reserve. That should be an amendment. Get rid of, it already is part of the Constitution. Our Constitution specifically talks about only Congress shall coin money.
Right. We talked about that.
Yeah.
At one point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I forget where in the Constitution that is, but we definitely came across it.
It's Section 8 of Article 1, Section 8 is talking about money. And
so does freedom of the press, though, relate to Amendment 1?
Oh, yeah. That's amendment. That's the amendment. I mean, that is the most important amendment in the Constitution, because that is our freedom of speech, okay, of press, and it's the right of the citizen to be free. Basically, like one of the things the government does today is that they restrict our ability to assemble and to protest, whereas that is our God-given freedom listed under Amendment 1 of the Constitution.
So, if I may, as a recap, even for myself, guys, the first 10 amendments are referred to as the Bill of Rights. They were ratified effective December 15th, 1791. Amendment number 1, if I may, Dave. Yeah. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble, and to petition the government for a redress of grievances.
Yeah, today you get shot or tased, thrown in jail.
Yeah, or declared it basically an enemy of the state for asking questions.
In essence, what Tucker Carlson has been doing is all of that.
Yeah, I mean, he's been exercising. Look, I'm not a lawyer. We're not lawyers, guys. We don't play them on TV either. We're not like Barack Obama, supposedly a constitutional lawyer, although, he did whatever, drone strikes or whatever without the Congress or whatever. So, I mean, if anybody should know, he should, but whatever. But yeah, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, Tucker Carlson, or the right of the people to peaceably to assemble. You and I are assembling for
Right. Well,
example, right
well,
now with some of the people listening with us.
well, Dan, I've said
And
this.
finally, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I've said this to you before. Hold up that book you're reading and show how thin it is. That's our entire Constitution. And you compare that to the books and books and books of laws that they subject us to that are not constitutional. And what has happened is see the thing that the thing that I believe is unfortunately I think that, call it what you will, too dumb or happy, ignorant, whatever, stupid, whatever word you want, complacent. The people of the United States have no appreciation for the freedoms that were fought for us to be born into. And so we don't even recognize how many of our freedoms have been taken away.
No, absolutely not. It's a joke. It's a joke. So to your point,
because
yeah,
I
go
just
ahead.
want to finish my thought.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
basically, people think we're free today, but really, where do we spend most of our time? Where do we spend most of our time? Is that freedom when you
Yeah.
have no choice but to do what you have to do to keep food on the table or whatever? I mean, life's hard. I get it, but we reached a point and we've been coming down since. And
100%. We're not, yeah.
we have agreed to let the government make our decisions for us, and that's why we are where we are today.
We're not free. This is a form, I argue, of a combination of feudalism and fascism. What do I mean? Fascism from the sense that I think
It's
most
very,
people will agree with me. They step back and think about it. We've merged government with corporations and corporations with government. They've merged, dovetailed, whatever you want to call it. That basically is the quintessential definition of fascism. And then the other term I use is feudalism. We're all serfs in a modern day feudalistic society, and we don't even know it. The average stiff getting by has to spend most of his time working and away from his family and loved ones. To Dave's point, um, we work the first third of the year. Is it a quarter or the first third of the year?
I think
January through April.
I think it's up to Memorial Day now.
All right, call it May. So we work
That's
five
June.
twelfths. Okay, pull out your calculator. I'm going to do it. I want to get exact. 5 divided by 12 is 41.6. So basically, 42% of the year, okay, you're working for taxes. That's what you're doing, folks.
And people will disagree with you because maybe they're not paying a lot of income taxes at the end of the year, but it's in everything that you buy, it's in everything you use. Taxes make up a significant portion of that price.
So to take it further, let's boil it down. On a typical 8-hour workday, if you take 41.6% of that, that's 3.3. What that means, guys, is if you work 8 to 5 every day with an hour for lunch, the first 3 hours, 8 to 11, or almost to 11:30, you're working for the government. Okay. The next 2 to 3 hours, you're probably working to pay your mortgage or your rent. And I'd argue the last 2 hours or so, plus or minus, is for your other subsistence stuff, such as food, paying the electric bill, etc. That's free. That's free. We were probably freer 100+ years ago when we were more of an agrarian society. And you'd say, but Dan, they work like dogs and pigs. Yeah, okay, certain parts of the year they worked 12-hour days. They were up at 4 or 4:30 and worked till sundown. But then there were other parts of the year where it was a very short day. And then on top of it, they didn't have an hour commute or a 2-hour commute back and forth in and out of the city with all the associated
Well,
expenses and annoyances and traffic and everything else. They didn't have that. Their homestead was their work, which was the farm. Got to mend the fence today. Got to milk the cow in the morning. Got to raise the chickens. Got to, work this crop, etc. Right?
well,
I argue they were more free then than we are now.
so in reading the Constitution, okay, we shouldn't even need to read the Constitution to know this. How many branches of government are there, Dan?
3.
Right. Can you name them?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So you got the legislative, right?
No,
You got
just
the
name them. Just name them. I don't want to go off on a tangent.
legislative,
I'm trying to make
the
a point here.
judicial, and then the president.
Yep. So in essence, we call it, most people will associate this with the president, the Supreme Court, and Congress. Right?
That's a good point.
Okay.
Good point. Yeah.
All right.
You're right.
So in reading the Constitution, I think we're going to clearly find out that some of those people have not been doing their job. And that's why there's such an unbalance, out of balance of power. Whereas in our lifetime, it seems like the president is a king or an emperor rather than being one of the 3 branches. Would you agree? Were you listening to me?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what you're getting at is the way the president operates these days and rolls, right? It's like no checks and balances, which is what the founding fathers, that was the whole intent, to have the 3 different branches. They would counteract each other, right? And in the form of checks and balances, and one branch couldn't carte blanche go off and do what it wanted to do, which is what the president does these days, right?
Well,
like, for example, declare war.
That's one of it. But then Congress is bought and paid by lobbyists, okay, and special interest
100%.
groups. And so they're introducing laws and regulation and kickbacks and subsidies that have no business being granted. And so they're off the rails. And then you have the Supreme Court. What the heck is the Supreme Court doing, man?
Well, they are, so the legislative branch develops laws and rules and regulations, right? And in theory, the judicial branch is supposed to enforce, correct? Enforce the laws, not interpret them. There's a difference, right? Because if you get into interpret,
no. They're supposed to uphold the Constitution and strike these laws down.
Well,
we have way too many laws.
Well, I guess so. I'm not a constitutional lawyer, but in general,
Dan,
nothing
is above the Constitution in our country.
So,
and this is the mistake that the police and these states and even Congress and the president, they think that they can bang the gavel and their word is greater than the Constitution.
Absolutely. So what I would say to that is, my understanding is the judicial branch is supposed to look at laws, if they have to look at a particular law, in such a way and to ask the question, is this constitutional? I guess that's the interpretive piece.
Yes,
is this law
that's their only function. Is
it constitutional? If it's not constitutional, then it needs to be struck. But in layman terms, I would argue, and Dave, I think you would agree, and the folks listening in tonight probably would agree that, and you just touched on it, there are so many laws now on the books and so many things that passed or have been passed, they're not constitutional.
Well, is it constitutional?
If they're not constitutional, then what are we? Are we a constitutional republic anymore?
Is it constitutional that we're sending all of our wealth to outside this country or to special interests at the expense of the benefit of the country or the betterment of the country?
Yeah, it's a joke.
Would you rather? I mean, so when they say, "Yeah, we can fire 100 cruise missile and we've got to build another 100 for $2 million a piece," but we can build a new aircraft carrier, but oh no, we can't introduce some sort of health care for people preventative, like a preventative health care where people, because think about this, how many people just don't go to the doctor at all because they,
Spot on. More and more in the United States are doing exactly what you're saying, amigo. They're foregoing the doctor altogether because more and more people, by the way, it's common now for people to ask you, or doctors, do you even have insurance? Like, there was a time I never was asked that in my life. I'm asked it all the time now, right? It's a standard question now. Do you even have insurance? Because they already know up front that like 1/4 or 1/3, I don't know what it is, but I'll bet you it's big, of the US population probably doesn't even have health insurance because they can't friggin' swing it. They can't swing the premiums. And then on top of it, even if you are making the premiums, which are killing most people, then when you do need to use it, you got to pay even more with copays and everything else.
yeah, and basic, if we're just talking, I mean, what percentage of people, and I'm not looking for an answer. I'm just saying these are the questions that, what percentage of the people get sick each year? And really, and what percentage of people are sickly where they're the weak of the society who need to be taken care of, right? These are all questions the government can answer, I'm sure. And so you're not going to be able to tell me that it's going to cost more to set up a system for the citizens of the United States to have a preventative health care where you do blood work every 6 months or a year, right? You do, which are labs. You do your blood and urine. You do your basic, I'm not, whatever the different checks are that you go.
Colonoscopies. Once you hit 50, there's things you got to do all the time.
Those are things that are cookie cutter tests that if you set them up so that people were going every year or whatever the mandate or the recommendation is by doctors for these things, it would be a very minor expense in the grand scheme of things. And what would be the savings to the country to catch these issues early rather than wait until somebody's dead?
So here's the thing. If we focused on more preventative measures, to your point, Dave, and particularly as it relates to obesity, because something like 40% of the population now is outright obese.
Yeah, the food pyramid.
What is the definition of obesity? Well, look it up. I think obesity is
20 pounds over you. 20 pounds over your normal weight is obese.
I thought it was 30 or 40, but let's say it's 20. So you're right. I don't know what it is, but probably half of Americans, and I know I'm on a touchy subject.
No, it said 70% now are obese.
I was going to say more than half of America is 20 pounds heavier than they should be, easily. All you got to do is, and I don't need to be a statistical friggin' mathematician to know this, just go down to the friggin' mall for 30 minutes and sit on a bench and watch people walk by and have a piece of paper and a pencil and just make tick marks. Yup. You'll have a lot of tick marks by the time you're done. So, not trying to be funny, but we all can do better, including myself. But we don't look at the what's the word? The incentive in this country, which disgusts me, utterly disgusts me, is for people to be sick. They want you sick. That's the plan. That's the plan because it's money. You are a revenue stream on a monthly basis.
If I can get you, not the cure, right?
Well, all you need to know is the pharmaceutical companies, what was it, in 1986, 1988, somewhere in that range, when a major law was passed? You can look it up. I forget the name of it. But basically, let's say you take a pharmaceutical or a pill and it blows your your aorta up and you drop dead. Boing. Right? Whoever, Pfizer or whoever made that pill, they're not on the hook. So what does that tell you? What does that tell you? Right? They can carte blanche basically create whatever they want. They're not responsible for the cure. I mean, blood pressure would be a great example. Take amlodipine or something like that, right? What does that do? it doesn't treat the ultimate cause. All it does is you've got constricted arteries, right? That's why you take a blood pressure pill, right? You get constricted arteries over time, they get clogged, right? And so what the pill does, it just somehow makes the body force the blood faster through the constricted garden hose, as opposed to addressing the problem, which is the arteries are hardening and they're getting constricted. What can we do to unclog them and make them more pliable, right? They don't give you a pill for that, right?
Um,
They don't treat the cause, basically.
no, and the real fear that I have is that since COVID, our medical establishment has lost a lot of respect and credibility.
100%, because if you just I dealt with it 3 weeks ago. I wanted to get a routine checkup at this place. I don't want to get into details and names. I'm not going back there. Okay. And I have health insurance. It was an effing nightmare.
Was
Okay.
it really
I was
crowded?
there, dude. I went there for regular blood work and stuff. I was there for like 3.5, 4 hours. I sat in the patient room, uh, uh, waiting for the doctor over 2.5 hours. And then when he came in, um, it was like it wasn't like, oh, I'm so sorry or whatever. I went to the
This was
nurse's
like a
desk.
Quest Diagnostics, or was
Almost,
it a
yeah.
medical office?
uh, in between the two, I guess.
Okay, all right.
But I guess the point I'm trying to make is healthcare has gone way downhill, particularly the last 5 years. Just trying to get basic stuff, basic service. It's a joke. The other thing I hate about American life healthcare, and I can go on all day, is this drives me absolutely insane. Every year, you got to re-enroll. Why do I got to re-enroll every fall? Go over all this paperwork again. Start compare plans because this changed, that changed, this changed. The copay went up on this. Your monthly payment of $300 is now $800 this year, right? So as a consumer, it's a total nightmare. It's and
Yeah.
and it's complex as hell. It's a patch quilt of shit that's put together. United States healthcare has got to be some of the worst on the planet, in my opinion.
Well,
And I'm not an
let's
expert.
not conflate healthcare with medical insurance. Two different things, because the whole thing is geared towards medical insurance now. And I mean, when I was living in the US, I couldn't even get hospitals to give me a quote for a colonoscopy because I didn't have health insurance. That's how
But if
screwed up
you,
it was.
but with all due respect, if you were born in Guadalajara, and your name was Juan Valdez,
Yeah. Yeah.
go to
It's,
the emergency room. They'll probably treat you.
well, we talk about AI and technology,
Just saying.
improving so much. We have all these fantastic machines and drugs and chemicals that can do these lab results. And pretty soon they'll have these mini cameras and mini robots that go down and find this stuff in our bodies. I'm sorry, but these, as far as the people of our country, in my opinion, if the Constitution clearly main objective is to protect and promote the welfare of the people, then I would say that healthcare, the state of healthcare, the state of people's bodies in our country has gotten to the point where it's a clear and present danger. It's an emergency.
Dude, look, again, I don't mean to be disrespectful, right? But like, we have a society now that doesn't take responsibility for anything, a lot of people, including for their own health, right? Like, you need to exercise, you got to walk, you got to do stuff, right? That's incumbent upon you. I like to eat goodies like the next guy. I like my ice cream and cookies and once in a while and pizza, but I'm older now. I got to lay off that crap too. I can't consume it like when I was younger, right? Because there's going to be ramifications, right?
Yeah, diabetes is no joke.
Type 2, yeah. It's so,
Diabetes
you know,
diabetes affects everything else in your life.
yeah. So we got a healthcare system that's off the rails. It sucks. It's a shitty system. Sorry. We have a food supply that is totally, what's the word, since the 70s, been infiltrated.
Artificial.
Yeah. Total garbage.
Remember
I
what
mean,
they say? Remember what
yeah,
they say? Don't go to the inner aisles of the supermarket. Stay to the outer aisles because
stay on the edge. Yeah.
that's where the
Stay on
real
the
food
edge.
is.
Yeah. That's your meat, your chicken, your fish, your vegetables, and your fruits. You're good to go. That's all you need to subsist, right?
No yum yum cakes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, but hey, I like my ice cream once in a while too, like the next guy. I'm not gonna lie. But you guys know where my point and what I'm getting at too. I mean, as you get older too, you gotta be more responsible and stuff too, right? It's just how it is. So
Well, I
where
know.
was I going with that? So, crummy healthcare,
Well,
um,
you were going because I know like John and some other people we
infiltrated,
know, like they
yep,
have these family
food.
medical insurance plans that cost
Oh,
like 30,000 a year.
absolutely.
Okay. And here's the kicker. You don't get 1 cent of coverage until you spend like 15 grand out of pocket. So now
Absolutely
that's really
insane.
like 45 grand out of pocket
Yeah,
before you get any. I mean, you need something cataclysmic to get any coverage at all.
100%. We're like we probably could count on one hand the number of countries in the world, and we're one of them, right?
So the
Um,
insurance companies are getting filthy rich, and the American people are getting fatter and more unhealthy every year, and
100%.
sicker.
And yeah, you can see the anxiety and the stress on the
Do you
average
think that's
person
why
now when I'm out in
Luigi?
public.
You think that's why Luigi might have shot that guy who ran UNH?
Well, 100%. Not that we condone that. It was the wrong way to handle it, but that's you're going to see more and more of that. I mean, if they don't take care of these problems, you're going to have people snapping left and right. Like I said, when I go out in public, I observe, I look at people, I watch people. And the average bear is not happy at all. You look at their face, you can see it in their face. Everybody looks like they just ate a shit sandwich, right? They're having a bad day, right? 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, back in the day, maybe I'm delusional. It wasn't like that. Okay. Once in a while, you'd see somebody, you could see a scowl on their face or the expression that they're having a bad day. Now, the way it is today, you guys tell me what you think. Everybody looks like they're having a bad day. What does that tell you?
Well, when Trump does stuff, we're going to pivot. So we already know that we have no say over the health care of the country. Okay, so people will be like, well, you need better Congress people. Good luck with that. Because we just said the medical insurance companies are making all that money. They control Congress. Okay, so then we have a president who's going to go off and do his thing where probably 80% of the people disagree with him. Do you think there's any recourse on that? Not till elections. What? And here's the thing: when Trump was in office last time, they were trying to impeach him every other day. Don't you find it strange that nobody's trying to impeach him right now?
That's a good
No
point.
one, not one person.
Why is that? Hmm.
Yeah, why
Hmm.
is that?
Could it
Is
be that
anybody
they're all
asking
on
that
board?
question?
They're all on board with what?
You know, we are. Have you ever seen those videos of how they direct cows or pigs or chickens in the slaughterhouse? That's what we are here, folks.
Yeah, we're corralled. You and I have used that term a lot in the past. We as a general populace as a whole, we're absolutely corralled. We're absolutely corralled. We're corralled from every aspect of life, in my opinion. Okay, it's kind of soft and a little bit sedate behind the scenes, but we're absolutely corralled. The food supply, the healthcare, the military industrial complex, all the taxes we pay. The American Revolution, we got pissed off over a 1% tax with King George, but we're okay to pay 40 to 50% of our entire income now these days. That's cool, right?
But it, but it,
Every
but
10 bucks I make,
but
five
if
bucks goes to me. Great.
but if we are a
I'm so
Christian nation,
happy.
but if we are a Christian nation where we're supposed to look out for others as we look out for ourselves, why aren't we? Even if you can afford that $30,000 or $40,000 insurance plan, even if nobody in your family is sick, even if you have the job of your dreams, why wouldn't you care about making sure that the least fortunate or the people who didn't have, let's face it,
Those memes.
I everybody win. I had a boss one time who was truly was in one of the richer families in the country, and he would say he was a member of the Lucky Sperm Club, and in many ways, we all are a member of the Lucky Sperm Club in some way or another, compared to some other person who's less fortunate. And wouldn't it be a better country? And why isn't it possible that we say no to these people and create the country that provides these basic needs that everybody needs these things? Instead,
Mhm.
we tend to have the attitude that Congress knows best, or these medical companies best, or even doctors know best, during COVID, and we tend to just punt. No pun intended. Even though that's
Yeah.
all people seem to care
Yeah.
about today is.
So, we've become, I'll just say this symbolically. I don't want to insult anybody, but let's say symbolic rather than literal. We've become, fat, dumb, and, bread and circusly happy, right? Or artificially happy. As long as we got the sports games to watch and a gallon of Coke to wash down the Cheetos and the Doritos during the game, hey, we're good to go. We're not going to get off the couch, Dave. It's not going to happen, right?
No, well, you
Like,
just walk down a neighborhood at night. This is what I would do
uh,
when I travel.
no,
Walk down a neighborhood at night, and how many blue lights do you see in the window?
huge screens on the wall. Yeah,
But you see the blue lights coming out of the window is what I'm saying, from the
yeah.
TVs.
From the TVs, exactly. From the big flat screens because they got Dancing with the Stars on, or FSU playing the Hokies or whoever, right?
Well,
And don't get me wrong, I like sports, but they have their place. And
okay,
with all the problems and challenges and systemic issues we have in this country,
right, and
thank God they're
this
a lot more important than sports stats.
right, and that's why my conclusion, Dan, all along has been people really don't want this to change. They don't care. They don't give a shit. And so I don't want to be part of that. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
because we've talked about this. Like Brian said, come on back and start a movement. Dan, if you and I started a movement, it would be amazing if we got any money to actually do it, but would probably be dead or in jail if we started making any progress. Um, like look
100%.
look at what's happening to Tucker Carlson. Does anybody
100%.
remember Edward Snowden, Gonzalo
Yeah.
Lira,
Oh, yeah.
Julian
I mean,
Assange?
oh, yeah. Yeah. If they can take guys out like that, I mean, they could take anybody. I mean, look, we've taken out presidents, guys. JFK was murdered, 100%,
Well,
in
of
my
course,
opinion. No
started.
doubt about it. The minute he said he was pulling us out of Nam, the minute he said he wanted the currency backed by whatever silver or real stuff, the minute he said he was thinking about abolishing the IRS, are you shitting me? A bullseye went on his forehead quicker than
Yeah,
you
and
could
he
blink.
also he also was after Israel about the nuclear bombs.
There you go. So he was a president, right? I mean, if they could take a freaking president out, they can take anybody out, right?
At some point, um, well, what have I said to you for at least 10 or 15 years. It's going to take an external force.
Well, so was it Thomas Jefferson or was it Franklin? One of those guys, and I'm paraphrasing, said,
is this the Tree of Liberty again?
yeah, he said something to the effect that if you want to keep the republic intact, every 10 or 20 years, if necessary, it needs to go to, if it needs to get violent. And I'm not advocating violence. I'm just saying, paraphrasing what
week.
One of the, okay, there you go. What one of the founding fathers said, if you need to go to that level, then you go to that level. That's what one of the founding fathers said.
Jefferson.
Well, that was 250 years ago. I got people in my family in New England. You don't need a Second Amendment.
Yeah.
What do you need to own a long gun for?
You don't even need a First Amendment now, they're saying.
Yeah. Journalists, what do you need to write articles for?
No. Look at what's they want.
I'm watching Kojak.
They want to take the ability to talk about anything off the table. It's offensive speech. It's offensive speech.
What part's offensive?
Well, who defines offensive?
Who defines the Constitution?
Well, the Constitution can be changed.
Yeah, it's called an amendment, right? Don't we got 27 of them or 28?
Well, like I don't remember how many men sat down to over the years to go back and forth and then sat in the Constitutional Congress. But I can tell you that they didn't have the amendments initially, Dan. That's why they're 10 amendments, because people think about this. In the original Constitution, they did not give us, a lot of these freedoms that they had to amend later. Didn't even enter their brain.
You're right. So for example, the 26th Amendment was ratified. Check this out. This will blow your mind. On July 1st. No, July 1st, 1971.
Yeah.
Now, didn't Dick Nixon make his speech a month later, August 15th, I believe, of 71?
Which was that?
What? The 26th Amendment was ratified on July 1st, 1971. 1 month later, Richard Nixon was on TV decoupling gold from the dollar.
Yeah. Well, that amendment says,
yeah,
that's the right to vote.
So the 26th Amendment, the right of citizens of the United States who are 18 years of age or older to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state on account of age.
Well, it's because, I think it used to be 21. And then they changed that. And then the joke was, so I can go over to Vietnam and die, but I can't, I can't drink alcohol, or I couldn't vote. Right. So they're sending these 18-year-olds over and they can't even vote.
Yeah. They can't order a beer in a bar, but we can drop them in a jungle and they get their ass shot off or blown up by a claymore.
Oh, that's today. Today, yeah. But no, kids in Vietnam couldn't even vote back then.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. That's what I mean. They're 18, 19 years old. They go through boot camp. They know how to point a rifle down range and blow somebody's head off. But, heaven forbid if they want a cold Schlitz.
Yeah.
It's beyond ridiculous. But anyway, I don't know. We kind of diverge again as usual. But yeah, the Constitution, we should read it. We should read it in full, really.
Yeah, well, it's the Constitution is not a real fun document. I mean, it's like the talking about the sections of government. I mean, the book is so thin, it doesn't give a lot of rules and regulations in this. It just sets up the basic structure. And this is why it's gone off the rails in so many ways, because we have had people who now interpret it in a way that nobody challenges it. Like President Trump, according to the Constitution, does not have the power to send in the military as he just did, because they'd call him a king or an emperor.
Yeah, yeah. But yet nobody in Congress, there wasn't a friggin' peep, was there?
Well, just
he went in.
Thomas Massey, Rand Paul, and their ilk.
Yeah. So, he went into Venezuela, right, wrong, or indifferent. Now he's in Iran. I'm hearing Cuba next. I mean, really?
Yeah, and it was Greenland not too long ago.
Yeah. No shit. You got the Danes or the friggin' Norwegians bent out of shape.
Nobody knows it, but we're also in Africa with troops.
Oh, big time. We've been in Africa for decades.
Yeah, but they're pulling off these operations now, and nobody's talking about them. The other thing is back in I'll have to look up the date. It was right at the end of the Vietnam War. We attacked an island off of Thailand or Cambodia.
Really?
And yeah, they had it was the Khmer Rouge. So the Khmer Rouge is Cambodia. So the Khmer Rouge had taken possession of a ship, and we sent in like 500 Marines. And there was a huge, and of course the intelligence was completely wrong. They got it all wrong. And they were lying for like 2 weeks about how many people had died, because they were afraid to tell how many people had died in that operation. They were saying, oh yeah, we lost one guy. Well, I think they lost like 80 guys. So don't be surprised if that's happening today.
100%. You're going to tell me right up to this date, 2.5, 3 weeks later, we've only lost 5 or 6 people? Really?
Yeah, and oops, they tripped on the stairs and fell.
Yeah.
They didn't die
with all my understanding is, between the drones and some of their own missiles or whatever, Iran has still managed to get off a lot of shots, right?
I've not really been following it, Dan, because we're not getting.
Yeah, no, I get it, dude. I get it. We're not gonna.
You have to really question the information we're getting.
Yeah, but what's how accurate or veracity? Yeah,
but
agreed.
The part that I just want to bring up is, let me ask you a question. Is it fair if Iran hits New York or DC or Boston or San Francisco? If they hit targets there, is that fair?
So I'll answer. I'll go out on a limb, just being totally objective. And no, I'm not pro-Iran, before somebody mangles my words or snippets it or whatever. I'm not pro-Iran at all. Did they have a bad government in place that I don't agree with? Yeah, totally.
Who cares if you agree with it? You're not Iranian.
Right. And I don't agree that when a government kills 30,000 of your own people, that, to me, I don't need to be a political scientist to know that that's bad news, right? So no, I didn't like them. I didn't like Gaddafi. I didn't like any of those guys. But, is it our right? They're still a sovereign nation. What gives us the right to go in there and just attack them off the cuff? Number one, because they're sovereign. Number two, I argue, that's setting a precedent. Dave, you've heard me use this analogy many times before. It's like you're in a bar room hanging out, and just because you see some guy's face you don't even know the guy, but you just don't like the expression on his face, or you think he looked at you the wrong way, and you don't even give him a chance. You just make a fist and you haul off, and you punch him in the face. You sucker punch him.
Dan, are you going to talk about the answer to my question, or are you going to go off?
I guess I'm going off, but it's an important precedent that we're setting as well by doing this all the time. And I'm circling back to your question about New York. So objectively speaking, we've engaged in war with them, even though we've not, I guess, properly declared war through the Congress. So we're in war with them. They're calling it a conflict, right? I don't
Same with
know, when you're bombing and dropping a
killing
type of
people.
arsenal on them, that to me, and killing people, that's called warfare in my simplistic mind. So to answer your question directly, if they attack one of our cities, that's part of the war, is it not?
Well, it's it's not. They don't have aircraft carriers and cruise missiles or whatever, so they're going to utilize what they can to fight back. And
So
and
we're in the,
and how
yeah,
many? Did they bomb? Did they? So if they happen to hit a high school and kill 100 kids here,
of course it's terrible and I don't want to see that, but we've already done it. So now what?
and not only that, the one thing that the U.S. military or the intelligence agencies learned in fighting these wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. This is how demonic they are. Is they learned by watching when they were fighting these people. What would happen is they saw that when when a convoy was hit with the IADs, they'd wait till first responders came, and then they'd hit them again to kill more people. And that's what they supposedly they did in Iran. Is they had these drones circling, and one went in, hit the school, and they had a drone up there. And once it detected activity that there were first responders coming into the school, they hit it again. And that's what caused most of the deaths.
Are you sure about that?
I'm just telling you what they reported.
Okay. Yeah.
I wasn't
So you
there.
got first responders, which to me is the equivalent of Red Cross going in there to help.
No, no, no. What it
And
was it was their families. In this case in Iran, what happened is the parents heard the school were hit and they were running to get their kids. So all these
exactly.
parents ended up getting killed.
Yeah, exactly. Like any parent would, if their kid was at school and they heard that, of course, a father, any decent father would do that. 100%.
And so
So
they
he got
they
his
made
ass
a
blown
conscious
up going after his 7-year-old.
that was a conscious decision that our government made to neutralize non-combatants. That's our government. And our government, like, I'll just bring up Gonzalo Lira. He was a non combatant. Our government neutralized Gonzalo Lira. Our government killed an American, knowingly killed an American citizen. Not the first
Directly or
time.
indirectly.
Well, same thing.
Yeah, well,
Okay. And it's the same thing, Dan. If you have a government doing these things, it
so
again. I go back to the mandate of heaven. Our government has lost the mandate of heaven. And that means that the people it should lose the mandate of the people. The people should say, "This is not the government that represents me."
I agree. Yeah, no, look at I've said this before, I'll say it again. I mean, the way I see it, uh, we're all the average citizen, general population is potential cannon fodder.
Well,
Absolutely.
let's go to the end game here, and basically, I think you will agree with the statement I'm going to make. In my mind, this is 100% a spiritual war, and we have clearly allowed evil to take control of everything. We don't even allow good anymore, and it's so apparent now that our country has not stood for good for a long, long time, Dan. And I'm just going to call up this section that I did have this prepared. So I'm going to call up this section that I said we could read because this is actually quite spooky. You tell me when you
Which
can
book
see
is
it.
okay, I see it. Acts. Got it.
Okay. All right.
The fifth book of the New Testament, I believe.
Yeah, axe is like taking off the gloves, man. It's some of the most shocking, powerful. Whoever wrote, I don't remember who wrote the Book of Acts, but they did
Paul wrote most of the New Testament, 2/3 of it, I believe.
really well. He talks about in this section. He's talking as a third party then because he's. I don't want to go off on this tangent, but it's yeah, you can tell. I mean, Paul was rough and tumble. I mean, Paul killed people, man. He was a maniac. And so I'm not surprised that he would write in such a way that, you know, is not apologetic at all, right?
No, Paul was a tough dude. He didn't pull his punches. When Christ found him, he was an assassin. He was killing Christians. He would kill everything that moved. Men, women, children. Paul was a badass, putting
So
it mildly.
it's not a long chapter. So we'll just start at the top and then I'll pause when we get to the section. So Paul in
Yeah.
Ephesus, while Apollos was
Ephesus, yeah, I've been there, by the way. Go ahead. Western
Thank you.
Turkey, yeah.
It's in Turkey, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. While Apollos was at Corinth, Paul took the road through the interior and arrived at Ephesus. There he found some disciples and asked them, "Did you receive the Holy Spirit when you believed?" They answered, "No, we have not even heard that there is a Holy Spirit." So Paul asked, "Then what baptism did you receive?" John's baptism, they replied. Paul said, "John's baptism was a baptism of repentance. He told the people to believe in the one coming after him, that is, in Jesus." On hearing this, they were baptized in the name of the Lord Jesus. When Paul placed his hands on them, the Holy Spirit came on them, and they spoke in tongues and prophesied. There were about 12 men in all. Dan, have you ever spoken in tongues?
I don't have that gift.
Okay. Paul entered
No.
the synagogue and spoke boldly there for 3 months,
I
arguing.
do speak in Tourette's, though, sometimes. Go on.
Yes,
Sorry.
I know. Yes. Danny's. Paul entered the synagogue and spoke boldly there for 3 months, arguing persuasively about the kingdom of God. But some of them became obstinate. They refused to believe and publicly maligned the way. So Paul left them. He took the disciples with him and had discussions daily in the lecture hall of Tyrannus. This went on for 2 years, so that all the Jews and Greeks who lived in the province of Asia heard the word of the Lord. God did extraordinary miracles through Paul, so that even handkerchiefs and aprons that had touched him were taken to the sick, and their illnesses were cured, and evil spirits left them. Some Jews went around driving out evil spirits, tried to invoke the name of the Lord Jesus over those who were demon possessed. This is the section here, dude. They would say, "In the name of the Jesus whom Paul preaches, I command you to come out." 7 sons of Siva, a Jewish chief priest, were doing this. One day the evil spirit answered them, "Jesus I know, and Paul I know about, but who are you?" Then the man who had the evil spirit jumped on them and overpowered them all. He gave them such a beating that they ran out of the house naked and bleeding. Is that not spooky? When this became known to the Jews and Greeks living in Ephesus, they were all seized with fear, and the name of the Lord Jesus was held in high honor. Many of those who believed now came and openly confessed what they had done. A number who had practiced sorcery brought their scrolls together and burned them publicly. When they calculated the value of the scrolls, the total came to 50,000 drachmas. In this way, the word of the Lord spread widely and grew in power. After
That's
all this
Greek
had
money.
happened, what?
Drachma is Greek.
Right. After all this had happened, Paul decided to go to Jerusalem, passing through Macedonia and Achaia. "After I have been there," he said, "I must visit Rome also." He sent 2 of his helpers, Timothy and Erastus, to Macedonia, while he stayed in the province of Asia a little longer. The riot in Ephesus. About that time, arose a great disturbance about the way. A silversmith named Demetrius, who made silver shrines of Artemis, brought in a lot of business for the craftsmen there. He called them together along with the workers in related trades and said, "You know, my friends, that we receive a good income from this business. And you see and hear how this fellow Paul has convinced and led astray large numbers of people here in Ephesus and in practically the whole province of Asia. He says that gods made by human hands are no gods at all. There is danger not only that our trade will lose its good name, but also that the temple of the great goddess Artemis will be discredited, and the goddess herself, who is worshipped throughout the province of Asia and the world, will be robbed of her divine majesty." When they heard this, they were furious and began shouting, "Great is Artemis of the Ephesians!" Soon the whole city was in an uproar. The people seized Gaius and Aristarchus, Paul's traveling companions from Macedonia, and all of them rushed into the theater together. Paul wanted to appear before the crowd, but the disciples would not let him. Even some of the officials of the province, friends of Paul's, sent him a message begging him not to venture into the theater. The assembly was in confusion. Some were shouting one thing, some another. Most of the people did not even know why they were there. The Jews in the crowd pushed Alexander to the front, and they shouted instructions to him. He motioned for silence in order to make a defense before the people. But when they realized he was a Jew, they all shouted in unison for about 2 hours, "Great is Artemis of the Ephesians!" The city clerk quieted the crowd and said, "Fellow Ephesians, doesn't all the world know that the city of Ephesus is the guardian of the temple of the great Artemis and her image, which fell from heaven? Therefore, since these facts are undeniable, you ought to calm down and not do anything rash. You have brought these men here, though they have neither robbed temples nor blasphemed God. If then Demetrius and his fellow craftsmen have a grievance against anybody, the courts are open and there are proconsuls. They can press charges. If there is anything further you want to bring up, it must be settled in a legal assembly. As it is, we are in danger of being charged with rioting because of what happened today. In that case, we would not be able to account for this commotion, since there is no reason for it." After he said this, he dismissed the assembly. And that's the thing in Acts, Dan, is the people are wild back then. Like Paul if Paul wrote that, Paul wrote about several times about how, he's out there preaching the word of Jesus Christ, and a lot of the Jews he's talking to, they try to kill him. So, but I just found it very interesting that, I'm pretty sure Jesus does give all of us the power to chase evil away. It's just when those people were confronted by the demon, I guess their faith didn't hold up.
Yeah, my understanding is we're all given the authority. It's whether we use it or not. And we're all given gifts, by the way. The Bible talks about specifically, and I forget exactly where, 6 or 8 specific gifts, right? Some people are prophetic. Some people are good teachers. Some people are excellent encouragers, etc. Yeah, etc. I can't name them all, but you get the point.
Yeah. Well,
every person has a purpose and has been bestowed certain, abilities. Dave can speak Pig Latin, for example, backwards.
Right. While juggling.
Sometimes sideways.
Right. Well,
I've never seen a mouth move sideways, by the way, but go ahead, Dave. Yeah.
It's obviously you and I believe in Jesus and believe in the Bible. Other
Right.
people believe in other religions. But I would say, other than Luciferian and some of those religions, most religions have the core tenet of treat people as you want to be treated as one of their core beliefs. And isn't it amazing that people are not able to extend that to their governments or to their societies.
So, I guess what I would say to that is, number one, it is amazing, but number two, that's what happens when you lose your way. That's what happens when, uh,
When
over
money,
time
the
you
love of
become
money,
you become less and less blessed. And why do you become less and less blessed? Because you start turning your back on you know who. God keeps giving us a chance, guys, America, but if we don't get off this path and trajectory and we don't come back to him, we're done. DONE, we're done. It's just a matter of time. I don't know when, only he knows. But I can tell you absolutely 100% we're done. I think it's very possible
no,
that at the
no.
rate we're going, there may not even be a United States 100
Well,
or 200 years from now. I
Dan,
wouldn't doubt it.
how if you have 80 or 90% of the population ignorant to what really is going on, how can you, it's like GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. How can you make good decisions when you are ignorant of what is the real information? You're buying
100%.
whatever you're being told by the big blue light at night.
And that's how you lose the republic. And that's how you morph into something that you couldn't even imagine or envision morphing into.
Well, it's not. I mean, until there's, I mean, it could be one giant step, but I mean, we're just the last 5 years we can name events that show a dramatic depreciation in everything about this country. You've got communist mayors in New York City or whatever he is. You've got
100%.
You've got Elon Oman or whatever her name is. You've got AOC, and you've got Zionists running the government.
Yeah.
And
I mean, yeah, 100%.
Depreciation of our currency, as the Constitution says, we don't even coin our own money anymore. Brian on here has been talking about all the gold we have. How do you know we have any gold? The only gold I think we have is the gold we've been stealing from these countries we've invaded. We took Iraq.
I don't think with all due respect, I don't think we have any gold, or if we do, it's very little. Why do you think years ago, when, what was it, Rand Paul or his dad was one of the they laughed in his face.
Yeah.
They laughed in his face. They wouldn't even give him the time of day. Well, when's the last time Fort Knox, guys? Let me ask you this question, was even audited? Like 60 years ago? 70?
1950 something, 55 or 59.
Oh, okay, so I'm in the ballpark. So let's say it's 55. So that's 45 years plus another 30. Call it 75 years ago. I said 60 or 70. So most about 75 years ago.
Right. All those people back then, they were all dead, most of them.
Yeah. That's the last time it was audited, really? And then when we have asked in recent times to audit it, crickets.
No, they'll say, "Oh, no, I was there yesterday. I saw the gold."
Oh, okay.
That's what they say. That's what these idiots will say.
Well, why don't you take your iPhone 74 and take a couple of photos and show us?
Bingo. Well, they could just paint bricks gold.
We have the technology. It even fits in my hand.
So if they take a picture of a brick painted gold, you'll believe it?
Oh, that's a good point. So Zodi just said Nixon had to do what he did. Why is that?
Because
why do you take us off the gold standard?
Because they couldn't stop. Because they couldn't stop spending.
100%. That they took us off the gold standard because at that point, once you decoupled, you could print as much money as you want, guys, and have as many wars as you want, and fund whatever you want, whenever you want.
But Brian, that's only because if you're not a productive society, if you spend more than you bring in, you lose your gold. You have to after I don't know if it was a monthly or quarterly, you had a settlement. you had to basically, back then, the trade balance actually meant something because you had to
100%.
settle your differences in gold. So if we were importing too much French cheese and we weren't shipping enough,
So is that Brian? Is that who Zodi is? Is that Brian?
correct.
Okay. So to your point, Brian, you said because of the French and the rest of the world wanted their gold. Yeah, you're referring to 1968 when de Gaulle sent a frigate over, and you're right, they demanded the gold, right? De Gaulle came over, and at least on the first go around, I don't remember it all. We wouldn't give him his gold. We told him no. So, basically since the late 60s, early 70s to the present, the world is sick of our crap. They're sick of the bullshit and how we've mismanaged everything since Bretton Woods, because you're talking Bretton Woods too, when we took over, right?
Well,
From Bretton Woods after the British Empire, right? So
yeah, back then, okay.
We promised. Yeah. We were able to do that at one point because there was gold behind it. You could exchange dollars for gold at one point, as you know. Well, probably
because back then the French were on par with the US dollar, because if the United States government did a poor job in managing the economy and the government and how it handled money, then the rest of the world could say, hey man, you owe us gold. Today, they can't do anything. Everybody's got to print today. Okay? Because the difference is the United States is still the world reserve currency, but now today the French with the euros, okay, yeah, they can create euros, but they can't compete with the US like they used to. It's not a level playing field in many ways.
No.
We still have an advantage. And when the US loses officially or unofficially their world reserve status, when the rest of China and India and Russia can go back to a gold standard or whatever standard and bypass us,
which they're working on right now.
That is when that's when, to quote Ross Perot, you'll just hear this giant second sound, and that will be the wealth of this country leaving.
That's when the average American is really going to wake up, because they're going to catch this right between the eyes.
Yeah, they won't even have enough wealth to cover. I mean, they're struggling. They're struggling now. They won't even buy.
You just beat me to it, Dave. Everybody's pissed off right now about stuff and the cost of living and stuff. You ain't seen nothing yet.
And it's coming. If it's Dan and I have been warning about it for years. Ron Paul has been warning about it for years. I mean,
yeah, he's been laughed at for decades.
It's going to be catastrophic. Like, I remember talking, like, you could have $2 million in the bank, and that will be worth like toilet paper if you haven't converted it. And it's going to happen on a Friday. What's going to come out? It's going to come out, and there'll be a decree Monday morning that the dollar we now have the new dollar, and it's now, your old dollar is now 10 of the old dollars are now worth one of the new dollar. So you had $2 million. Dan, you're good with math. $2 million.
200 grand. There you go.
So now your 2 million's worth 200 grand, and the buying power also, and it's buying the same things.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's the path we're on, guys. And most Americans have no friggin' clue. None at all. And the financial system as we know it is absolutely going away. They're getting ready to flip that switch, okay? I don't know exactly when, but it's going to happen. Well,
it's a lot of bad things are going to happen way before that. We're going to have major. Look, Gerald Salente's got this one right. When all else fails, they take you to war. We are going.
Oh, yeah. Another distraction.
If if you have read World War II, and I'm not talking just the U.S. battles and watched Patton, if you've studied at all what led up to World War II, in many ways, what we're watching right now, we're in the precursor to World War III. Okay.
100%.
Back then they had Spain. Spain was in a civil war. We've got Ukraine, and now we have these conflicts all over the war where the United States is like England trying to throw its weight around back then. It's
Yep. It's a joke. That's what fleeting superpowers do at the end. They're like a wounded animal in the corner, and at that point, they're friggin' lashing out at anything and everything.
Yep. That's called, and I'm going to get the pronunciation of this wrong, Thucydides' trap, which basically means that when you have an emerging power threatening the existing power, it leads to conflict about 70% of the time. And the only reason that the United States didn't fight Britain is because we were in World War II together. And
right. And
World War II basically bankrupted England.
Yeah. The sterling. Yeah. And we just reached a natural point in time where the handoff of that torch to us, and the Brits were happy with that. Not happy, but fine with that. Fine enough, probably, especially since we fought together and were allies and basically saved them. I mean, if it wasn't for us coming from the West, I mean, Germany probably would have bombed them out of existence, and eventually probably would have led to a ground war as well, right? I don't think the Brits would have survived without us coming into the war.
Well, of course not. Of course not. No, I mean, we don't need to go. We've gone down this path before. I mean, and yeah, it's but I think that can you tie that chapter of Acts into anything we've talked about, Dan?
Oh, you mean in terms of the modern day and stuff like that?
No, that chapter we just read from the Bible.
Yeah.
These topics. I mean, back then they had a crazy world, right?
Absolutely. And
we have a crazy world today. It doesn't give an excuse for people not preparing themselves for when you're not here anymore.
It's a good point.
Because all of us are going there.
That's a key point. We're all going to pass on. That much we can take to the bank. That much we're 100% sure of. And then the question is, how prepared are you going to be when that day comes? A lot of people think it's a big joke. The Federal Reserve, Brian, is basically a private institution or corporation in which 12 or 15 members sit on the board. And of those 12 or 15 members, more than half of them, I'm going by memory, or 2/3 of them aren't even American citizens.
No,
yet they control our money supply.
They won't even tell you who owns them. They won't even tell you.
So we have foreign entities, and I guarantee the average American doesn't know this, although it's becoming more common. Dave and I were talking about this a decade ago, and people were just like, really? What are you're a conspiracy goon. No, that's how it works. Go to the friggin' website, do your research. But anyway, over half of that standing board, council, whatever you want to call it, they're not even American citizens, yet they affect our money supply in terms of policy and stuff. Now, how insane is that? Oh, and I forgot to mention, I think Dave said it earlier, that only Congress is allowed to print and create money.
Yeah,
but we have this alien foreign entity called the Federal Reserve, which is nothing federal about it. It's not part of the U.S. government at all, but it's called the Federal Reserve.
Yeah, and we don't audit the Fed, right?
Nope.
And
not
guess
that I'm
what?
aware of.
The Fed takes a percentage of every dollar created. They get a percentage of that. And
Yeah,
so,
it's not our
and
money.
people
Yeah, good point, Brian.
like our buddy Mike will say, yeah, the Fed has to give back any money they don't use. Hey guys, guess what? Have you ever seen the buildings in the cities that the Fed has? They're always nice buildings. They have their own police force. They have thousands and thousands of PhDs talking about nothing that matters. And
Yeah.
and who knows what other expenses they deem as necessary. So think about it. If I said to you, Dan, I want you to print the money, for me, or you want you to do whatever the hell you do, and I'm going to give you X percent. So of course, the more money that's printed, the more money you make. And then
Yeah.
to make sure that you don't give back anything, you increase your expenses. Sorry, there's nothing to give back. I spent it all. What
So
you spend
sorry.
it? What did you?
So sorry.
What did you spend it on? Well, that's private. We're a private institution. You're not allowed to know that. So is there a chance they could be spending it, like giving it to their buddies to get policy changed?
Well, wait a minute. It's basically like a corporation. Don't they have a 10K report?
Yeah. They don't report anything. The numbers that they report are what they want you to see. It's not the real numbers.
So since 1913, let's end it on this because we've been an hour and a half now, but here's what we could agree on. Since 1913, I would argue it's been basically a downward trajectory. Since 1913, you've had the Fed come into existence, the federal taxation / IRS come into existence, all the intelligence agencies, including the CIA in 1948.
Two world wars, two
world wars,
Afghanistan, Iraq, now Iran.
Decoupling of the currency. What other major thing? Oh, war after war.
Yeah.
So what's the major stuff I've missed in the last century?
Yeah, you've had the institution of abortion, not surprisingly.
I forgot Roe versus Wade. How silly of me, 1973. Early 60s, we took the 10 Commandments out of public. Late 70s, you had no-fault divorce to chip away at the family. I argue in 50 to 100 years, who knows, maybe 200 years, if not even, there will be no normal families, guys, like you know it. There will be no nucleus family as we know it today. It won't exist. The state will control all that. It will control the birthing of children. The state will directly.
Yeah, because then they can control who goes to fight.
Yeah.
Dan, we need somebody to be a coal operator. You're going there. You're not going to have a life.
There will no longer be, and I don't know exactly when, but at the rate we're going, and you can see it, the constant breakdown of the family. This is by design. And that's how you redesign a society from the base or the ground up. There'll be no fathers and mothers. I mean, you see it already now. Over half the U.S. families, not to be critical, 60% don't even have a mother and father living in the house, raising a kid. And
Dan, if I waved a wand and I put you in that group with those people, okay, who run the world, the powers that be, because there is a group like this, okay, and you looked at everybody else below you as, what do we need them for? If you've got this technology coming that is going to be able to do everything automatically, and you need 1/10 the people that you used to need, what are you going to do with these extra 90% of the people?
Hold on. I need a cigarette break, Dave.
Yeah.
Hold that thought.
No, what would you, if you were in this group, listen, the truck driver is the number one job for men in the United States. And when I say truck driver, it's like FedEx driver, UPS driver.
Delivery drivers, exactly. And oh, by the way, traditional truck drivers are quitting left and right, but we don't need to go there. You're right. Yeah.
When that gets all automated, as it's certainly going to be at some point with drones and robots,
Absolutely.
that's half the workforce. What are we doing with them? I mean, Uber drivers, your side hustle for Uber, it's now going to be like that Arnold Schwarzenegger movie with Robbie the Robot.
Yeah,
Hi,
you'll jump in a car. If we don't see it in our lifetime, which I think we could towards our
we will.
lifespan
Well,
for
we
those
already
in the
have it.
50s,
We have
our
it.
kids absolutely will see it. To Dave's point, you'll be jumping in the equivalent of an Uber. It'll be, hello, how are you? And its head will be able to turn 360 degrees. Nice to see you. Where are we going? Robbie the robot, like you said. No human being. Are you kidding me?
It could just be a screen to make you feel happy, but
Exactly.
divided.
Something to talk
There
to.
won't be a driver's. Well, there won't be a driver's compartment anymore.
No, not at all. We're absolutely going there, 1,000%.
My point is,
in the
Dan,
next,
you're on that committee. Of course, you're going to vote for the jab. Of course, you're going to vote for abortion. Of course, you're going to vote for euthanasia centers popping up on every corner next to 7-Eleven.
there you go.
Of course, you're going to vote to legalize drugs and everything.
Right, and hence break down the traditional family because we no
And you're
longer
going to
need
want wars because that kills people. You're going to want unhealthy foods and inverted food pyramids because it kills people.
100%. You wean the population down.
You're going to put chemtrails in the air because it kills people.
You don't need a workforce anymore. That's why they sucked us out of the farms and into the cities 120 years ago, baited everybody out. Oh, so what do we got 100 years later? People that are anxious more than ever before on 5 pharmaceuticals because they're all stressed out trying to pay their bills, commuting an hour and a half each way. What a utopia.
Yeah, it's one
That's
of these
where we're
things.
at.
And nobody seems. So when Tucker Carlson goes miss, the other thing that Brian wanted me to ask you about that I didn't bring up, do you think Netanyahu's dead?
Man, that's a damn good question. Well,
is it possible? Is it possible that people inside Israel got so fed up that they finally overthrew him?
That's a great point. I think it's possible. Yeah, I think they would be well, I don't know. I don't know how do the bulk of the Jewish people feel about him? Is he that popular? I don't think so.
Well, he got elected, didn't he?
Well, he's been prime minister or whatever they call him for 30 plus years. Go figure.
Oh, no. He was out. He just came back a few years ago. Supposedly he came back because he was going to basically face some treason charge or something where he's going to go away for a long time. So he ran to become prime minister because it would make it, they couldn't prosecute him while he was in office.
Yeah.
And
so
also,
anyway,
Brian reminded, I don't know if there's, I heard this, Brian, his son who lives in the United States, who's, I guess, a big social media butterfly, down in Miami, he supposedly has been on a blackout on Twitter and wherever. So he's kind of disappeared as well. So maybe, who knows? Maybe between the Epstein files and between him trying to start a war, because let's face it, if you were going to ask me who I thought was most likely to use a nuclear bomb right now in this world, I'd say Israel.
Oh, yeah.
Or the United States. And I think China and Russia would use it in retaliation, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure they would do it unprovoked.
Yeah.
And obviously a terrorist group that is trying to strike the United States or Israel or some other country. If they had a nuclear bomb, then they might use it as well. But as far as countries, well, I haven't been to Israel, so I can't speak to that, Brian. I just, there's so much, I just don't go online and look at this stuff anymore. I don't, I don't even really much listen to any, just in passing. It's just too distracting in videos. But with videos today, how do you know what's real and what's not real? That's why I don't watch a lot of this stuff right now. Like these videos of Netanyahu that are surfing. Now you have people saying they're AI because his hands and because some cup of coffee he's holding, like he drank the cup of coffee and it didn't like lower the volume in the coffee. So people are speculating it's AI. So I don't know. It's we've talked about this before where today we have more information than ever, but is it good information? It's these goofballs putting stuff up on, either people just want clicks or people create artificial stories to have you go chase your tail and waste your time.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing is everybody was all upset about the Epstein files, and more people I think are upset about this Iran thing than are in favor of it. And so, but is it going to have any effect on the outcome if the people get upset? Obviously, it doesn't appear so. Dan, I'll let you take it, man. I don't know what you're looking at, but you're not engaged in the conversation here.
No, I'm listening. I really don't know what to say.
But
I mean, I was trying to find something on Netanyahu and what the biggest thing is they're saying in terms of is he still around or what? You know what I mean? How legit it is, or is it rumor? I don't know.
Well, but it doesn't. But people still have to get up tomorrow and get back on the treadmill, don't they?
100%. And that's all part of it. They keep you so freaking busy just trying to grind out a living these days that the average person, by the time the work week ends, they're so toasted and spent and trying to keep the bills covered, and they're looking for the bottle of wine and the 6-pack and the football game.
And that's why they do these things over the weekend a lot of times, because you're not going to notice it.
Yeah. 100%.
So maybe tomorrow is the day where we get an Emperor Trump.
Yeah, he's definitely seems like off the rails,
Zodi asked you a question there. I don't understand what he means, so maybe you do.
I don't know what he means. What's he mean?
You're going to have to expand on your question.
Mention that a lot. Is that what's my lifestyle? I don't know.
What does he mention? No, Dan doesn't drink. Dan doesn't drink. Yeah. No, we're talking, and I think less people are drinking today than they used to. Yeah, you don't drink much, right?
Me?
Yeah, because when I came to see you, I don't think we even had a beer together, did we?
No, I don't really drink anymore. No, I just threw Schlitz out there being a wise guy.
Oh, do they even have Schlitz anymore?
No,
you remember Carl Bueller?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, his father worked at Schlitz in New York. It was in like the Bronx or something like that. So when they moved to Connecticut, they were a huge
Talk about piss water.
Schlitz fans. So I remember one of my first beers was like a Schlitz, and it was like, I was like 8. I was like,
Terrible. That's been dead for 30 years, I'm guessing. I don't
yeah,
know.
I think they're gonzo. I think Pabst
I
is
just
still
pulled
around.
that out of my rear end. I don't know where that came from. Black Label, Schlitz. What are some of the other horrendous beers? I
Well, Brian, how about this one? I know nobody's going to think this is nothing, or nobody's going to think this is anything, but I think it's
Bush.
something. How many people are addicted to caffeine in our country? How many people could go just give up coffee tomorrow and not drink it for the rest of their lives? It's caffeine's a drug, man. It's a drug. Well, of course you love your coffee. That's it.
It's a
For all
stimulant,
you know,
right?
they're sticking something in the coffee that you don't even. I mean, have you done a chemical analysis of your coffee?
Yeah, that's a great point. They could be bits of who knows what in there.
Everywhere you go, there's a coffee shop here. There's a drive-up coffee thing here in some parking lot. They've got Dunkin' Donuts, Dutch Brothers, Starbucks on every corner.
Yeah, good point. They could be slowly rotting, killing your kidneys or liver. Who knows?
Yep, yep. When I went to China and I realized, because you don't think about it till you give it up. And I was in the middle of China and I was with Ting Ting. And that day I thought I was getting sick. And then we were getting a night train and we were walking to the train station. And I was like, oh, I haven't had coffee in 2 days. Felt like there was an axe splitting my head open. So I said, hey, Ting
100%.
Ting, I gave her like some money. I said, go into the KFC and buy me a coffee, please. She came back. I drank it. Within 20 minutes, Dan, I was back to
Mhm.
normal.
100%.
And that's when I said, I'm giving this up because I do not like to,
Mhm.
I do not like to be dependent upon any of that crap where I have to have it. Because what happens if you don't have it? Now you're like an addict. You're an addict. So
Mhm.
so after I drank the coffee, I turned to Ting Ting. This is what I said to her. I said, Ting Ting, I said, hello, my name is David, and I'm an addict.
Are you serious?
And she's like, what are you talking about? Because, when they have AA meetings, and I guess you stand
Mhm.
up at AA meetings and you say, hi, I'm David, and I'm an addict. And they go, hi, Dave, welcome. But she obviously didn't know that. That's why I was just playing with her. But that's when I was like, I'm an addict. Thank
Yeah,
God.
no, I love my coffee too. But you're right.
Try giving
I
it
mean,
up.
I think I could give it up if I wanted to, no doubt. But I think I could. But I will say this: for the first week or two, my head would probably be boing, boing, boing,
Oh, yeah.
boing.
Yeah, I tried to give it up cold turkey, and my sister, the doctor, she's like, "What are you insane?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do it." You know what I did? It took me, I think, 2 weeks, and what I did was every day, like my cup of coffee, I would put in like more and more decaf instead of coffee. So after 2 weeks,
Weaned down. You
right,
weaned
I
it
weaned
down.
it down, and after 2 weeks, my body had gotten used to less and less caffeine. I think it was two
That was
weeks.
smart. Yeah,
And then,
that
uh,
makes sense.
and then after that, it was just a couple days of fog and a couple days of maybe a slight migraine.
Yep.
So, Dan,
Mhm.
I'll give you the final word, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, the final word. What's the final word?
I know.
I don't know how to summarize this. We've covered so much.
Well, I don't know. I mean, this is all. I'll say my piece and then you finish it. Okay. This is why I try to live an unorthodox life because, in my opinion,
Mhm.
the orthodox life is a cage. It's slavery. It's what they want you to do. And so
Good
I
point. Well
say,
said.
I say this to them.
It's a great point. It's absolutely a carved out uh, pre cookie cutter
And I
type
put my
existence.
faith in Jesus Christ.
Exactly, as I do too. That I can echo 100%, and that's why we do what we do, guys, in terms of grabbing, if you will, selected readings and stuff like that. I guess the big takeaway for me is with Acts is what Dave said earlier. Since mankind has been, I guess, upright, if you will, and walk on this earth, um, there's always been chaos. Every generation has had their challenges and has always thought the world is crazy and coming to an end. And I think it's no different today. The only difference today is, though, we do have the technology to continue to maybe do good things and or proliferate such things, but as well go the other way. That's the problem. Like we could blow the entire planet up like really easy, right?
Well, if we look at Dan,
Couldn't do that in Paul's time.
if we look at the basics of what people need to really survive and have a good life, I mean, you want to be healthy and you want to have quality food and water, right? And air.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you want the ability to raise your family in a way that you can be proud of if you're going to have a family. And so all of those things I think we can do today. And it comes down to just priorities. China has a 5-year plan. China meets regularly and they have directions on where their country's going to spend their money. Do we do that in this country? Or we fly by the seat of our pants and say, oh yeah, let's give all our money to Israel and Ukraine. And hey, Monsanto is now getting.
We don't have a 5-minute plan. It's apparent. I'll leave you on this note. And we touched on this before, and I'll just say it again. We're too diversified. We're too disparate. We're too broken up. There's too many conflicting entities now in this country, in my opinion.
That works in a free. That works in a if Dan, if I was going toe to toe with you in the ring, we would find out who the dominant fighter was, right? But so if you take government out of it, okay, and you let these different states and different towns and different cities survive on their own merits, you'll find out within a couple of years or less,
real quick,
who is doing it correctly and who is not.
Who's the real deal and who isn't.
And then if you're one of these disillusioned assholes who thinks, one thing, you're going to find out that in the real world, it doesn't work. Because then you're not going to be able to survive without the help of somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got too many artificial props now, and for sure. But the biggest thing to me is we've got too many, we're too diversified. I know that might sound ignorant, but we're so diversified. We're so watered down. I can't see how we can get everybody or enough people we need, if you will, or the majority, whatever you want to call it, on the same page. China doesn't have that problem. Russia as a whole doesn't have that problem. I'm not sticking up for them and suggesting we go communist or whatever, but I think you know what I'm saying.
I encourage you to come down to Mexico at some point, because then you'll see what the United States will become. Mexico is a republic, as I told you last week, and they have an oligarch who runs the entire country, and they have other groups running the country. And so most of the people down here don't even have a pot to piss in, literally. And so the roads are bad, the Wi-Fi is bad, everything is, the infrastructure of this country is a third world infrastructure. And the buildings are built out of concrete, and it's like something. The Mayans and the Aztecs probably had better houses than the Mexicans today.
Wow.
And it's because they don't have money. They're not a rich country. And so when the US loses its reserve status, it's not going to be a rich country anymore. It's going to have this military that's going to need trillions of dollars, and it's not going to be able to fund it. That's a bad combination.
That's a bad combination. So much for being the military power at that point.
Well,
need a lot of money to fund a military like that.
Yeah, and who knows, maybe the military will decide that they're going to stay around.
Well, and I was sort of saying that indirectly, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, who could stop them?
Well, nobody in the
Even
US.
right now. Huh?
Nobody in the US.
Nobody. Yeah, I know we have the Second Amendment, and I know we're the most heavily armed nation in the world per capita. But the reality is, we still couldn't go toe to toe with the American military.
Lost what, Brian? You've got to expand your questions or comments, because Dan and I are all over the place. Freedom, what? Money, what? Yeah, the United. Brian, I've been saying it for 10 years. The U.S. has already lost. I call the U.S. the Titanic. Yes, the United.
Brian. Yeah,
if
we.
Yeah, yes.
In a lot of ways, Brian. Yes, we are. I don't see us coming back, and I hope I'm dead wrong.
Listen, the people we have, no
we're
way
on the wrong path, man, and I don't see us getting off.
You can just see with the division on the simplest things.
Yeah. Because, Brian, we don't have as a whole, as an aggregate, the will to write it. And on top of it, Dave just said it, and I said it earlier, we're too divided. We're so divided because we're overly diversified. We've had this bullshit shoved down our throats for 3, 4, 5 decades now. I got nothing, it's nice to have a certain amount of immigration as it relates to maybe certain skill sets and stuff we need. But we've blown that model out of the water for I don't know how long. And then when Biden was in office, we really blew it out of the water. There were no borders at all. Any schmuck could walk across the border, regardless of the skill set, their background, or whatever. You could have a friggin' mass murderer, rapist, terrorist. We don't even know who crossed the border.
Well, look at the goofball who's our president right now. He was elected by people who would have never voted for him, because he stood on a platform of America first. Okay, right. No more wars. He stood on it, and now he has done a 180 on everything that he promised to stand for. But nobody's trying to.
He kissed the ring. I keep saying it all the time.
No, my point is,
he kissed the ring.
Nobody in our society is really upset about it. Yeah, they bitch and they complain, but they're like, oh, well, I guess we're going to war with Iran. Hey, did you hear that? They're now bringing back the draft. Hooray!
Well, I heard they were talking about it. They're not bringing it back. Is that a done deal?
No, I'm joking. No. Saying you think that, yeah. So now now your kids are going to be forced to go fight.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, I mean, registration has been made mandatory, and if you don't register, it's like a $250,000 fine, some crazy fine.
Well, think about this, Dan. We were infants at the end of the Vietnam War. Isn't it? I've thought about this before. Isn't it crazy that our society didn't revolt when they were drafting young men to go fight in Vietnam?
Well,
people were so brainwashed back then.
Well, no, hold on now. You could argue to an extent. I wouldn't call it a revolt, but there were a lot of movements, in particular, the hippie movement
But it meant
was
nothing. It did
pretty
nothing.
strong against it.
But it did nothing to end the war.
They protested pretty hard. But what I would argue is they misdirected their anger. They took it out on the troops. When the troops would come home, they would spit on the troops. And it's like, dude, what are you doing? He's a lance corporal, or he's a private or a sergeant. He's just a grunt in the trenches.
Dan, if you and I were drafted and we went, we would be complicit. We perpetuated the machine.
Yeah.
Do you think Jesus would have gone?
Now, Brian just said they did protest. There was a lot of protests, big protests during the.
I know that, but they were not effective, is my point.
Okay, yeah, so you're right. They didn't win, but it was even violent at times. You had Kent State and stuff. People got killed, man. People were killed over this shit.
My point is, we went through this experiment and they won.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's
yeah.
Do you expect them not to win this time?
100%. Look, we'll end it here. I'll say this. I mean, at the rate we're going, this is a bold statement, and I probably shouldn't even really say this, but I wouldn't be surprised someday if they turn the guns on us. Wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, that will get the population down.
Yeah. I mean, there'd be a certain amount of the population that would absolutely fight back, but they would be cut down.
Well, hey, why don't they just nuke some cities and say it was Iran?
They could do that. Who's going to prove it?
Disprove it. Yeah.
I mean, we're a bunch of dumb idiots. I mean, with 9/11, what was it? Building 7, Building 9, whatever it was.
Building 7, yeah.
This is Molly Hatchet, or whatever her name was, reporting the building is down. The building is down. Wait a minute. What's over your right shoulder, shithead, in the back?
Yeah, she was from the BBC.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. And then did you see my Larry Silverstein just bought another high rise, this time in LA? So wouldn't that be surprised if that was the new 9/11?
Dave, you already nailed it. And I don't even want to say this, but I mean, they could get a dirty bomb that fits in the back of a pickup truck. Get a flat tire. See my fingers? Get a flat tire on the George Washington Bridge during rush hour on Friday night at 5:43 Eastern Time. Get a flat and let it rip. Like you after a couple of beers and a can of beans, just let it rip.
Yeah, the beans.
They could do that, and they could say, well, what, and then I'm just throwing shit out. It was the Biden regime. All those people that came over the border was one of the sleeper cells of the East Ramadan connection.
Well,
I'm just making shit up.
Let me just say this. I'm writing about this in the book, and I'll just give this little teaser. If you take out, the United States is huge. If you took out just 9 substations, transfer stations, and 10 refineries, the United States energy, the grid would be down. We don't make transformers anymore. The grid would be down indefinitely for 80 to 90% of the country. And if we took out the ton top refineries, you wouldn't have gasoline for years. So the economy would come to a halt. If this was in the winter, within 30 days, half the population would be dead.
Would it be that high in just 30 days?
30, 60, 90, whatever. Once the generator ran out.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Dave. Within 30 days to 90, call it 60, you'd have probably a quarter to a third, maybe half, because of old elderly people, nursing homes, people that need medication. Yeah, they would all be doing face plants left and right.
If you want, like, that passage that I read in Acts 19 was kind of spooky, but imagine waking up, or you're watching TV, or you're on the internet, and all of a sudden everything goes dark unless you have a generator.
Yeah,
And
but even then, let's say you got a generator at your house. I mean, how long's that good for?
as long as you have fuel. And here's the other thing. How many days supply the United States, how many days supply do we have of gasoline and diesel for transportation? Would you guess? Days,
No.
weeks, months, whatever you want to say.
You mean readily that we could use right now?
Basically, yeah, that before you'd have to make any more.
Well, we okay. So yeah, in other words, what we currently have, what they would constitute, what you would call reserves, right?
Inventory.
In other words, stuff in the barrel, ready to go.
Basically, Dan, I'll just cut to the chase. You got about a month.
I said 30 to 60 days. Remember, I just said that a minute
Oh,
ago. Yeah.
that's when people would be dying. I'm talking about gasoline reserves, that you could act like. People will be like, if there are attacks on refineries and you need gasoline, I don't know how big your tub. I mean, I'm not even sure filling a 5-gallon can is going to help.
No, no, you'd have to own 10 5-gallon cans, 20, and even that.
Yeah, that's like for emergency use only.
Very, very limited driving just to go to the food store. But then what's it, after a week, if that, the food store will have no food if the trucks aren't running.
Yeah, everything's just in time.
Right.
As we saw during COVID, how things would disappear off the shelf.
Yeah. What's the average market? Got 3 days of supplies, like every 2.5, 3 days, they got the trucks coming, something like that.
Yeah, and I mean, and you're
Not
talking
even
like,
a week. It's not
well,
even a week, I think.
well, if you're talking about the real food, I mean, less than a week, that stuff is good for.
Well, you're right. If you're talking fruits and vegetables, perishables, and
And
meat
meats.
that you have to keep refrigerated, by the way.
Yeah,
Unless-
unless you smoked it, or jerkied it, which is what a lot of the farmers do out there, not farmers, the hunters do out there, is they have it all jerkied so they don't even need to freeze it.
Good point.
The hunters might be the last ones standing. These people who have, water source on their property, and they have food stocked up. But that's why I talked to you. That's why I talked to you about a small town, Dan, because with what's coming, you don't want to be in the crosshairs of 100,000 people or 1 million people in a city.
I couldn't agree with you more.
And this is
I
why.
couldn't agree with you more.
So that's why I don't know if I already said, but I'm serious. If I can get away from here, I'm seriously considering taking a couple months and in making it indefinite if possible, just driving around exploring these different small towns in the U.S. and Dan, I saw some things online, and like, this is Ohio, and I'm not sure I'd want to live in Ohio because the weather there is so terrible. But I saw homes for sale that were like $22,000 for a 2,000 square foot house.
Wow. Like where? Toledo, Columbus?
Oh no, like small dink town, and in
In the middle of nowhere.
maybe it was Nebraska. I don't remember where it was. Somebody was
I believe
online.
it.
And then
I believe it.
and then we're approaching an economic crisis that is going to lead to a lot of people getting wiped out, and that's going to lead to a cascade of properties. People are going to be trying to sell properties just to get cash. And so that will lower the prices of property as well.
Big time.
So
Big time. Yeah. All right. All right. Well,
hey, have a good
that was
night.
a good
And
discussion.
yeah, so we can talk during the week whether we really want to talk about the Constitution, because here's the thing, Dan. I don't think anybody cares that the Constitution's not being followed.
I won't argue with that. I think the bulk of the people could care less.
Because, like your family member
No
said,
argument.
a lot of people don't want the
Right.
Constitution anymore.
Nope. They think it's an outdated document.
That's why we have George Washington and Thomas Jefferson statues getting ripped down.
Yeah.
They were bad, bad men.
Yeah. Rip it all down, and a generation or two from now, no one will know the difference. Who's George Washington? Never heard of him.
But
It's absolutely possible. Constitution, what's that? Never heard of it. Easily could be there. We're practically there now. You think the average Gen Z,
they
or,
know who Joey is, or
Yeah.
not Joey, Mia, or whatever these names are. These people I don't even
how many
know.
ounces? How many ounces are in a gallon of milk, Gen Zer? How
30
many feet are in a mile?
Huh?
Huh?
Yeah.
What did you say?
I was throwing a number. I just threw some bogus number out.
For what?
No,
A gallon?
I've seen these things. Yeah, how many nickels are in a dime? Oh,
Exactly. 5.
what's a nickel? What's a nickel?
What's 2 times 9 minus 1?
Well, you've heard
Hold
supposedly, you should check your kids. Supposedly young people can't even read a clock today unless it's digital.
I totally believe that. Yeah. Yeah. The small hand, the big hand? Wait a minute.
Right.
Yeah.
2:00.
Yeah. No, it's scary, dude. All right. Well, we can talk about the Constitution. I think it's worth reading. But yeah, probably a lot of people, including probably 80% of our Congress, could care less about it.
They only care about getting reelected. And
That's it.
and if the constituency doesn't care about it, listen, Rick Wiles, the guy from True News, ran against Brian Mast because Brian Mast wore his he wore his IDF uniform into Congress. He's a congressman from Florida.
I heard of that.
And they must be all Zionists or Jews down there, because he easily defeated Rick Wiles. So that issue did not matter at all. This guy going into Congress, or how about when they wave Ukrainian or Israeli flags in Congress? To me, it's an outrage. It's an outrage.
Yeah. 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 I mean,
And it would
think
be
of
an
how
outrage
insane it
if
is.
they went in there with Irish flags or Canadian flags. It's an outrage.
Yeah. When that guy walked in there with the IDF uniform, yeah, absolutely. It's like, you're a foreign military. What are you doing here?
Well, it shows
And
you
nobody batted an eyeball.
Yeah. No, he probably got applause and pats on the back.
Yeah. But you remember the Irishman 2 weeks before that? The U.S. Marine?
Oh, he got dragged out.
Did you hear about? Huh?
Yeah,
he got dragged out. Yeah. The U.S. Marine, because he wanted to have some free speech about all these frivolous wars. They dragged his ass right out, U.S. Marine. But IDF boy was good to go.
Because he supports the wars.
So what does that tell you? Right?
It'll tell you the
That's the problem.
barbarians are not only inside the gates, they run everything.
100%.
So that's why
100%.
I'm saying it's like, I know believe me, I take no pleasure in this. It's like telling somebody that somebody died. Do you think that's really a fun task? But the whole point is if you were on the Titanic, I ask this you every time, Dan. If obviously Dan does not believe he's on the Titanic, and that's fine. We all have free will. We all have free choice. And anybody listening to this, you have a decision to make. You can decide that you're not on the Titanic. You're going to get a lifeboat. Everything's going to be fine. They're going to patch the hole in the ship. Well, and the other thing is you might think that you have time and that you'll have time to react and to get off the boat if you find out you're wrong. And that's what I'm telling you. You are going to have no time. None. In fact, you're out of time already. I told Dan before when we were talking about things, I said, hey, anybody looking now, it's already too late. You're already dead. So go live your life.
Exactly.
Because I'll tell you, especially those people who've never left the U.S., I'm not even sure they could survive outside the U.S. They're probably better off dead. So make sure you're good with Jesus Christ, or, in my opinion, be good with Jesus Christ. Make sure you're saved, and then it won't matter. Because you're going to go there sooner or later.
That's a great note to close on. That's
All
the
right,
bottom line.
And I haven't looked at the markets tonight, but let me just look real quick. Silver looks steady. Bitcoin's steady. The Nikkei is down 1%. And I'll just look at the ES futures, the SPY futures. And that is, it's green. Well, yeah, my computer just crashed. It's green. Yeah, the market's green right now. So I guess there's no news is good news, as they say.
Excellent. All right. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Well, Brian, John McCain was born in Panama, and he was allowed to run for president. So you can be assured that Cruz will definitely be allowed to run. Dan, thank you. Thanks to everybody listening.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Peace.